Hello, and welcome to the Morning Glory Cafe podcast, the place you can come to find food for your soul. Hello, and welcome to the Morning Glory Cafe podcast. Today's subject is on perseverance. Before I get started, I want to just say that I hope and pray that this message will reach whoever needs to hear it most today. I don't know what you may be going through today. You may be facing a challenge something challenging in your life right now. Perhaps you've lost a loved one recently and you're having a difficult time pressing forward with your life and going on with your life. Maybe you've been diagnosed with an illness that you're finding it hard to face. That has you feeling afraid. I don't know what you may be going through, but whatever it is, I just pray that this message will help you today in any way that it can. Okay. First, I want to share something with you that I wrote in 2021 on perseverance. Okay, starts out with a scripture in 2 Corinthians. For our present troubles are small and won't last very long, yet they produce for us a glory that vastly outweighs them and will last forever. 2 Corinthians 4:17. When we are suffering, our troubles sure don't seem very small. Like right now, as I try to type this while my body is flailing around. It's hard to imagine that my troubles produce glory, but it isn't the troubles that produce the glory. It's the perseverance through the troubles. We can persevere through suffering by holding on to God's love for us and drawing on His strength. That is what brings the glory. God's love for us is eternal, and remember that one day troubles will no longer be able to get a hold on us. One day we will no longer suffer with anything. We will be trouble-free. What a day that will be. Living with young onset Parkinson's for the past 15 years, it's been nearly 19 now. It has definitely not been easy. It has definitely not been an easy road to walk, both figuratively and literally. Granted, I was born with a very strong will. Some call it stubbornness, but even the strongest of wills can be beaten down and weathered. When that happens, I look to God for my strength. People often say to me, I don't know how you do it. I do it with God's help, that's how. He helps me to persevere. I also look at my blessings and what I have to be thankful for. I found that counting my blessings helps me to stay focused on the positive things in my life, which in turn helps me in my quest for perseverance. Another thing that helps me as well is reminding myself that no matter how hard life may get, there's always someone out there somewhere who's going through or has gone through something worse than me. In January of 2019, I fell and hit the bone above my right eye on the door frame going to my bathroom. It was very scary for me. Blood was dripping down into my right eye, making it difficult to see. I managed to call 911 and the ambulance came and took me to the hospital in the middle of the night. I had 5 stitches in my eyebrow. The doctor who assessed me afterwards set me up for physical rehabilitation because my balance had become so bad due to Parkinson's. I now walk with a walker, is what I wrote in parentheses, but now I walk with a walker a lot less than I did then. I'm using a scooter in the house most of the time, and I use an electric wheelchair when I go out. But anyway, I was in rehab for 2 weeks. One day while I was in the workout room, a young man rolled into the room in a wheelchair. He had no legs, yet he had a smile on his face. There I had been hating it so much that I couldn't walk like I used to, and in comes this young man who had no legs to walk with at all. That very moment sort of put things into perspective for me, and truly made me realize that if we think about it, there's always someone else in the world that's going through something worse than we are. Always. Scroll, please. Sorry. Having a hard time scrolling. Need to get a mouse for me. There are people suffering in poor countries all over the world. Soldiers who have been captured and held in captivity and tortured, wars, people who are homeless and probably went through other terrible things before becoming homeless. There are just so many things in this world that people go through, and we need to remember that, especially when we're going through something bad ourselves. Oh gosh, my son's calling. Hey, I'm doing a podcast. Can I call you back? Love you. Bye. That's my son Ethan. Okay. 2004, I went to something called Good Grief Camp. It was a camp that an organization called TAPS, Tragedy Assistance Programs for Survivors, that's what it stands for, held every year in D.C. on Memorial Day weekend. That's a great program. If you're military and you've lost someone in the military, you don't know about that, get a hold of these people. They're really good. TAPS is a special organization for military families who have lost a loved one. It was this camp that I got my first dose of perspective. A lady stood up across the room and told her story. She had lost not only her husband, but all five of her children in a plane crash. Her husband was a pilot and he was taking his kids up for a flight on one of their son's birthdays. This gave me goosebumps just even remembering this gave me total goosebumps. Um, her husband was a pilot and he was taking his kids up for a flight on one of their son's birthday. I'll not ever forget that. I thought that my own suffering was so terrible, losing my husband at 33 with three boys to raise, two very young in age. Indeed, my own suffering was terrible. But how much greater suffering had this lady standing before me experienced? In one day, in one moment, she lost her entire family. Can you imagine that? Yet she was still living life and was still very thankful to be alive. God had been good to show me perspective in my life, has been good to show me perspective in my life, and it is the greatest advice that I can give to anyone. Always look for perspective. It really helps, and it is so important to have if you want to persevere. Suffering is never something we want to go through, but I can promise you that if you ask God to be with you during your suffering, He will be. That doesn't mean that He will take the suffering away, though sometimes He does. It means He will get you through it. Some of you may have lost someone you loved who suffered, and you may be asking, but why did God let him or her die? Perhaps you know someone who's suffering terribly right now and cannot understand why God allows him or her to suffer. I want to pause here for a second. I wrote this in 2021, but it was in the beginning. It was in the beginning of 2021. I later lost my brother in 2021 in September. And, he had read, I sent this to him and he read it and he told me, wow, he says, that's really good, Charlie. You really need to write a book. And I'm still working on that book. I don't know if I ever get written or not, but, it tested what I wrote to face this, my brother dying unexpectedly like he did. It was so unexpected. He was in the hospital and with COVID and he fell and busted his head open. And it was just awful. I struggled with that. I still, to be honest, I do struggle with that still. I have questions for God. When I meet him, I'm definitely gonna have questions. But it's still what I'm about to read now still stands very true for me in dealing with my brother's death. Okay. Sorry. I don't have the answers to the question of why God does or doesn't intervene. However, what I do know is that I trust Him with my life, no matter what I'm going through, and whether I'm living in this world or not. I also know that He is with me, always with me. As far as I'm concerned, there's no other choice but to persevere. Though the world is filled with so much bad and evil, it is also filled with good and beauty. I'm thankful for life, so I will hold on to God's strength, find peace in His love, and stay steadfast the course of my life's journey. We are living in a very difficult time right now. But please know that there is a God who loves you and will see you through. Whether I'm in this world or in the one that awaits me, God is by my side. Knowing this helps me to persevere through the trials of this journey on earth and takes away my fears of leaving it. bottom, I put the definition of perseverance: not giving up no matter how difficult your struggles are. Not giving up no matter how difficult your struggles are. That's perseverance.